Welcome to the Andy Darer Show. This is episode 54. This week I'm joined by special guest Mike Lynch of Ace Broadcasting, The Adam Carolla Show, and co-author of Not Taco Bell Material with Adam Carolla. We also get into his huge interest for the band Phish. Thank you so much for listening. Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out the Andy Darer Show. This is my 54th episode with special guest Mike Lynch of Ace Broadcasting. He's from the Adam Carolla Show, and he co-wrote the book Not Taco Bell Material with my radio idol Adam Carolla himself. So this is a great discussion. We get all into the nitty-gritty of Ace Broadcasting. Everything you could want. If you're a Carolla fan, do check it out. It's a very detailed interview. It was a great time taping this interview. We also get to talk about a little jam band that could, Phish. And haven't been able to talk about jam bands at all on the show. And so it was just a perfect chance to talk a little bit about jam bands and Carolla. It's a weird, a weird amalgam of two different things you didn't think would fit together, but they fit together greatly. And so I just want to thank you so much for checking out the show. This is our 54th episode, but before we get into the meat of it, I'd like to bring up my awesome sponsors. First up, we got Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue in Westmont, Illinois. Family-owned and operated since 1997. It's the real deal barbecue. If you're ever in the western suburbs of Chicago, do check it out. Really only about a 20-minute drive from the downtown area of Chicago. It's right by all the highways, so it's really easy to get there. People think that you're out in the suburbs, it's hard to get to, but no, you hop on a highway, you're there in about 20 minutes, and it's the real deal, authentic, southern barbecue that you really can't get much in Chicago. It's he really found a niche, and he's been doing great. Mike Lynch is the owner, and it's just a family-owned and operated business that it's really awesome to see them have success for the last almost 15 years now. So if you're ever in the Chicago area, do check it out. They do extensive catering, too. If you want to have a party this summer, you really want to impress your guests, why not go with Uncle Bub's barbecue catering? Obviously, they can put on pig roast. They have smokers. They have grills. Bring it right on site. They have a girl setting up the buffet for you. They're very helpful. If you have any questions at all, give them a call at 630-493-9000. And you can check out catering menus on the web at unclebubs.com. And by Secondhand Mall, also in Westmont, Illinois. I'm keeping my sponsors local. And my record store of 28 years last year actually sold out their inventory to the Secondhand Mall next door. And the Secondhand Mall moved into the original store that was Remember When this year. So now we have an awesome record selection. You have awesome CDs. A huge selection of electronics, video games. Now they also have power tools. They have musical instruments, real deal, authentic musical instruments. And it's just a great environment. I like to pitch it like, remember when you used to go to stores and just want to hang out and not be in a rush? This is Secondhand Mall, for sure. It's located at 309 West Ogden Avenue in Westmont, Illinois. Give them a call. They buy, sell, and trade at 630-810-9980. And check them out on the web at secondhandmall.com, a.k.a. 2ndhandmall.com. So if you're looking to turn that pile of CDs that you just have in your closet, you haven't listened to them in a long time, if you want to turn that into some spending cash, why not take them over to Secondhand Mall? And by The Man-Grade. I talk about it in the episode with Mike Lynch. Man-Grade's been a proud supporter of the Adam Carolla Show for a long time. Now they're a proud supporter of the Andy Darer Show as well. Just click through the link on my site. It's at the top right-hand side of my site at theandydareshow.com. And if you really want to impress your friends and family when you're having a little barbecue over at your house, why not get the Man-Grate? It just slips right onto your existing grill grate, that chintzy coat hanger-esque grate that comes with the grill. This is a huge chunk of Detroit steel that just sits there, and you're going to be cooking through the convection, not just the heat. You're not going to be drying out your meats. You're going to be getting those dark grill marks that are really hard to achieve on these chintzy little grill grates that come with your grill. So check them out. That's at the Man-Grate, and mangrate.com. But please support our show by clicking through on our website, theandydareshow.com. All right, I'd also like to give a mention to Pod Gods. That's superfan Giovanni Giorgio and Lax Dude. They have an awesome show where they just discuss, they criticize, they recommend podcasts. Just a show about podcasts, which is a really interesting idea. Podcasts, there's so many now. These guys will tell you what's new and what's greatest in the world of podcasting. And they've been really nice to mention my show a few times, give me a pretty good review. And they're tough to win over. So I was glad to hear I got a good review. Might even be appearing on it soon. Check out the show. That's podgods.net. And if you want to look for anything that has to do with Superfan Giovanni, check him out at superfangiovanni.com. All right, and that about does it. I just want to thank Kevin Matthews for allowing me to do the Music Minute, Talking Tunes with Andy on the Kevin Matthews Show. We're trying to take it down to, I think, every other week now. I've just been real busy with my show, and, Summer's been busy with my job. So I just really appreciate every time that he puts a little bit of my music segment on there. It really means a lot to me. He's a really cool guy, real funny guy. That's the Kevin Matthews Show, only available on Dull.com. And you have to subscribe, but you're going to be getting the Steve Dull Show, the Kevin Matthews Show, the James Van Osdol Show, the Dino Stamatopoulos Show, and the new Brendan and Matt Show, which is his son and his co-host having a little show themselves. You're getting all these shows for the price of your morning cup of coffee. And it's a great network. Do check them out. They're local. Dahl.com. DAHL.com. All right, so that about does it for all the sponsors. Just want to thank my sponsors. Want to thank my guest, Mike Lynch, today. He was a great guest. Knows a whole bunch about the world of Carolla, knows a whole bunch about the world of music, too. It's a great listen. Want to thank everybody at Ace Broadcasting. They've been so good to me the last year and a half. And, without further ado, my 54th episode with Mike Lynch. Hey, Mike, you're on the Andy Dare Show. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for taking a moment out of your day to talk to me about the new book and everything about that. How's the book tour going?
It's going pretty well. All the book signings are over with at this point, but I'm still doing some press, and then he'll be hitting the road with Dennis Prager and, doing some book signings while he's on the road, I believe.
Awesome. Were all the signings at Barnes & Noble's? Or?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd come out to Oak Brook, Illinois. That's where I'm living, like about 5 minutes from there. But he couldn't make the stop out to the Midwest, right?
Yeah, I know. I know we got a Chicago date coming up.
Oh, really? Okay. Is that with Prager or him by himself?
That's him by himself. And it's at the Rialto.
Oh, okay, cool. So like downtown Chicago, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, I was thinking we could go behind the book, kind of behind the music, but with the book. I mean, I just loved reading the book. I've got both of them, obviously, and I was thinking about a story about during the writing, anything that came up during the writing, or maybe thoughts of troubles with writing or arguments that took place or anything like that. Anything come to mind? Or?
I wish I could say there was some drama or something compelling or interesting, but the fact of the matter is it's just these are all great stories, and it wasn't an incredibly hard book to write. I mean, it was time consuming, but the stories are just so great in and of themselves. It was just about how do you tell them and how do you tell them in the right order. Because that's one of the things that's interesting about it. Is it's not just one thing I hope people listening might understand is that it's not just these are stories we've heard, so it's just I heard it all on the radio. So there's a lot more detail in the book, and the way you tell a story in a book is way different than the way you tell it on a radio show or a podcast.
Sure.
A podcast, you're going to start at the end, and did I ever tell you about the time this happened, and then you go back and you fill in details. The way in the book is it flows a little bit differently, and you have to build it up and flesh it out a lot more. So
Sure, I thought it was a great idea going in chronological order and by every household that he's lived in. Whose idea was that? Was that Ace's?
No, that was mine actually.
Oh, really?
I can take credit for that one. Yeah, it came about in a very interesting way. In fact, we had actually started kind of working on the book and, in a very loose way, just kind of figure out which stories we want to tell. I mean, we knew from the very beginning it was going to be a kind of a memoir and a collection of stories, because that's what the publisher wanted after doing the first book, which is very kind of ranty and about, wide-ranging subjects. They wanted it to be more biographical. So I had started, gathering and working on, just compiling the stories in very one sentence forms. Like, oh, here's this story. Let's make sure we include that one. Oh, the Ray story. That's classic. We got to tell that one. And I kind of categorized them as we had them we had a Ray chapter, and we had a Dr. Drew chapter, and a Jimmy chapter, and a Lynette chapter, and it was somewhat based around different people and stuff. And then I was Adam did a rant at one of the live podcasts about padded toilet seats, and it just struck me as very funny, like a lot of his stuff, and it just kind of, I was just sitting there, I was like, yeah, I wish we could get material like this into the book somehow. And I don't know, it was one of those kind of light bulb things. It was like, what if it was instead of, the people he hung out with, what if it was the places he was hanging out with them at,
Sure.
Pardon my poor grammar there. But, I just thought it was like, okay, so what if we frame it in each house? And then that was the initial thing. So it came from padded toilet seats.
That's awesome.
Adam.
It kind of gives you structure to work with instead of just major brush strokes. You're actually going in and looking for detail about each one of these little stories, right?
Yeah, and it gave us a way to do some material that wasn't just here's a story beginning, middle, and end. Here's a story beginning, middle, and end. It was a way to get in some of those tangents and things like that. If you make it about if you start each chapter with the house and where he was at the time and everything like that, it gives you an excuse to talk about, growing up in the 70s in general, as opposed to just specific, here's a story, it started here, it ended here.
Sure, it's got to trigger memories, just thinking about a house, and then you remember how it smells, you remember what you were thinking at that point in your life, and then that's got to just trigger stories like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the thing that really kind of sold me on, because I kind of sat on the idea for a day or two before I pitched it to him, because I wasn't completely confident in it. And what sold me on it was I was kind of thinking about what ended up being one of the kind of central themes of the book, which is the house with the two front doors. And I remember him saying that it was completely effed up and no one questioned it. And I just love that theme of we don't understand. I heard somebody once say, how does a fish know when it's wet? When we grow up in a particular environment, you don't question it. It just is. And I thought about that statement about the two front doors and how he never questioned it until years later. That's a good arc for the book, is kind of begin there and end with the house he has now.
Yeah, that reoccurs, I guess, in the book, because he talks about not letting stuff just become part of the background, questioning stuff as it happens. So
right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's for all the kind of hey man show stuff that Adam gets. No one gives him enough credit for being really psychologically savvy and knowing that you need a good sense of self-awareness and awareness of your environment to be able to change it. Like the part in the book about the glass door that got broken and replaced by plywood. And you kind of take a moment to say, you got to get on that stuff now, because as soon as it becomes part of your life, it becomes part of your life.
Yeah.
If you don't have that ability to look at it and try to fix it, forget it.
Definitely. It says, as shouted at Mike Lynch on the cover. So this was all just him just going back into the memories and just spitting it out at you, and you taking notes?
Not so much. Honestly, the as shouted at was just that was that was a kind of a joke based off the as told to thing that you see on covers. because Adam wanted to give me, as much credit and perhaps more than I deserve on this. But to give me co-authorship wouldn't be fair, and to say, with makes it look like he didn't do anything. Like you
Sure.
see, My Life by Paris Hilton with, Joe Blow, and Joe
Sure.
Blow wrote.
Or athletes' books, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that wouldn't have been fair to anyone, to Adam or the publishers or anything like that, because it wouldn't have been true. So we kind of came up with that compromise and that joke. But yeah, so I think a lot of it was like the first book, where it was like he was pacing around behind me in a bathrobe saying stuff. But this one, more than the other one, was me kind of doing a lot of research, like we think. Superfan Giovanni and another guy named Adam, because they tirelessly archived the old love lines and stuff like that. And, so a lot of it was me digging into those tapes and listening to them and kind of writing first drafts of the stories and then bringing them to Adam and having him go, "Oh, no, you misheard that. It was actually at this house. I was driving that car," or no, I must have, I must have told you that one wrong, or something like that.
That's so cool. Like, Superfan Giovanni is actually a good friend out here in Chicago. And, he just has an encyclopedic knowledge on the guy's whole career. It's so awesome to see. So you guys, that was actually a tool for you when you were writing this, those guys?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, more than a tool. Those guys were, pretty instrumental. It was, there were stories where I knew the big beats of it, and I'd say, like, "Hey, can you find this old love line when David Arquette busted into the room? Because I know the story and I know how it went, but I'd love to have some more detail. Like, what exactly was said, who was in the room, how, was it 3 minutes or was it 5 minutes?"
Sure.
There's those little details that we have in the book that, that I think that the hardcore fans will appreciate. The meticulousness.
The details that went into it is definitely something that you have to be a complete connoisseur of Carolla to really understand all those details. How about this? Who came up with the tangent part? I like that idea. It made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, that's all Carolla. And to be truthful, I wasn't sure if it was going to work. I didn't know, but
the little picture definitely helps it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was funny. We kicked around the idea of just putting a picture of George Hamilton in there, but I think there were clearance issues with that, and it ended up being just a kind of an illustration. So there's some unknown illustrator at Crown Publishing that deserves credit for that one.
Very cool. How did you get together with Carolla in the beginning? Like, and where did you grow up, and what's your story before Ace Broadcasting?
I grew up in Boston, in the Boston area, about a half hour north, town called Lowell. I went to Emerson for college, in the visual media arts program, minored in writing. I always wanted to work in TV. I was a letterman, not when I was a kid, to the point of, like, I actually got a letter on viewer mail when I was a teenager, and that was kind of like when I said, "Oh, I've got to." Nice. That was great. Letterman just thought I was funny. I just made Dave Letterman laugh. I have to do this professionally.
Cool.
And so, I came out here and I did internships. I started at Politically Incorrect, and I kind of moved up to writer's assistant there. And then when that show went away, not instantly, but about 6 months later, I transitioned over to the Kimmel Show as the writer's assistant. Still had to, go through the interview and, all that stuff. But,
sure.
It wasn't just, I was just handed the job, but I did have a little bit of a leg up. And that's where I met Adam, was, 2002, I guess, was the run up to Kimmel Show. I guess it debuted January 2003. So probably November, December 2002 is when I first met Adam. And, so I kind of worked with him peripherally because he was a writer on Kimmel in those first couple of seasons. And
hey, back then was Josh Gardner and Damashek, were they both involved in Kimmel at that point?
Yeah, Josh was he was kind of peripheral to it. He would come in and do bits and stuff like that, but he wasn't like a full-on writer. He was doing some other Kimmel-related projects. He had think Jimmy was part of the what the hell is the name of that show? It was an Adult Swim show.
Oh, Gerhard Ranke or?
Well, Gerhard for sure was that was a Jack Hole production. So yeah, that was so Josh was involved in a lot of that peripheral stuff, but he wasn't staffed on Kimmel. But Damashek was not right from the beginning, but I'd say within a year he was over there. But yeah, there was a great crew over there. So yeah, I was the writer's assistant, and that job comes with you get to pitch your own jokes and try to sneak them in there and stuff like that. And eventually Adam warmed up to me and thought I was a smart guy, a funny guy, whatever. And then when Adam started his radio show, I was looking to move on from Kimmel's show, and I talked to Jimmy about it, and he said, "Well, do you want to go work with Adam?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll go work on his radio show." And so for the first couple of months, first 6 months, I was the sound effects guy in addition to being a writer. And then when I took perhaps too long of an absence for my wedding and honeymoon, while Brian took over. But I've kind of been riding Adam's coattails ever since.
Was that during the Bonaducci era, or was that before or after on his radio show?
I was there for the whole run, but yeah, I mean, it was the first 6 months of I guess that would have been 2006. I was the sound effects guy, and then Bonaducci came in 2007.
It was Jack Silver and the bigwigs over at the radio station. Was that truly like something that was putting a hamper on Carolla's humor and his creativity? And did it take for him to do the podcast to really, experience freedom in that medium?
Yeah, I mean, there's just limitations to it. I mean, just strictly from the FCC point of view, he can't be as uncensored as he wants to be. But then, and I don't want to, be too hard on Jack Silver, but he did have a different sensibility. He did have a different sense of humor than Adam does. And I can say that we didn't necessarily feel welcome at KLSX right from the beginning. It always kind of seemed like, oh, there's these guys now. Like the attention was always more on Lycus and Frosty, Heidi, and Frank and stuff like that. We always, at least from my part, and I think Adam probably feels this way too, we almost felt like we weren't welcome. We were interlopers or something like that.
Sure. Huh.
But yeah, I mean, obviously there's a ton of freedom with the podcast and what you can say and how long you can go on a particular topic. Like there's no commercial breaks that we get forced in there and stuff like that. We have the leisure of putting in the ads where we feel like it, when we feel like it, if we feel like it sometimes. So
at first were people skeptical about the podcast, saying like, what's a podcast? I get that a lot now, but as like the time goes by, it seems like more and more people are understanding it and embracing it. So
yeah, no, it's definitely a growing medium, and more people are understanding it. And that's great for us. The more people that can get it on their smartphones and stuff like that. In fact, we have a page on our site, it says tell a friend that we talk about. It's right on the homepage where it's like you can literally just email out instructions to your friends on how to download it. Because I think that's part of the obstacle to overcome is people thinking that it's difficult to do, and it's not. It's literally one button if you do it right. So, that the skepticism was there, and I think even on Adam's part, from the beginning, I don't think he, thought it was going to be as big as it has become, and as much of a business as it has become. But no one ever went broke listening to Adam Carolla's ideas, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. So he's got the 3 mics around him. He talks about, he's surrounded by mics. You got Mike Dawson, Mike Lynch, obviously, and Mike August. What are the roles?
Mike Chaffee, too.
Oh yeah, Mike Chaffee. I forgot about that. So he's surrounded. Like, what's the roles that August does? And Dawson. Is Dawson like the sound guy, I think, or?
Yeah, Dawson was he was in radio they call it imaging, so it's the guy who, comes up with is the voice of the thing and comes up with all like the you're listening to kind of stuff, and provides a certain tone for it. And so that job is pretty much the same as what he's doing for us now. He does voiceover, he runs the board during the show, and he kind of post-produces the show, makes sure the levels are where they need to be and you can hear everything, and fixes any kind of, technical F-ups.
Sure.
And then, so that's his job. He does all that voiceover stuff live. Mike August is more behind the scenes business stuff. Obviously, he books the show too, so all the guests, because August has a background. He worked in agencies for a long time. He's an agent, so he has a lot of connections there as far as booking guests and stuff like that. So he books the guests, and then also he handles a lot of the business stuff behind the scenes now.
Cool.
So any kind of deals that we're making with new advertisers and stuff like that, or partnerships with other companies, August looks at all that paperwork and makes sure it's all legit, and works with Adam's accountants on all that stuff. And then Chaffee, for lack of a better word, the CTO, the Chief Technical Officer. He's really instrumental in the website and stuff like that. Like, we handle the small stuff day to day, updating the site, putting the pictures up, stuff like that. That's mostly Chris Maxipata, as Adam calls him now.
Sure.
Their last name's Maximana, but so he does the nightly upload of the show and pictures and things like that. But big picture stuff, website revisions, all the app, that was all spearheaded by Mike Chaffee. So it's a pretty good, triumvirate of Mikes that, I couldn't handle the business stuff, so August does. August couldn't handle the creative stuff, so I do. Neither of us could handle the technical stuff, so Chaffee does. None of us have a voice like Dawson, so that's what he does, and so each of us has our roles nailed down.
That's so cool. It's a true team working together, it seems like. And then you got, Gary Patrick Smith, who's been on my show, real nice guy, doing producing. And then you got the Bull Bruiser, the Porcelain Punisher, Matt Fondelier doing other shows producing. So it seems like you guys got a great team for you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, both of those guys deserve the praise they get. Gary, in addition to being kind of an associate producer on the flagship show, him and Fondelier produce On the House, and he produces Lynette's show, and up until recently, Adam's dad's show. So I mean, Gary wears a lot of hats. He does a lot of our social media stuff. He handles our Facebook account and everything like that. So he's really great behind the scenes. He's really tech savvy, which is useful for guys who are a little bit older, like myself and August. It's good to have someone younger who's on top of the latest trends.
Sure, definitely. And I was thinking, the one thing that was missing, because I'm a music head, I'm a rock and roll fiend, I was always I just wish there could be a guy that could talk music, on a regular basis. And then, of course, you guys got David Wild from Rolling Stone, and my mind was blown. And he always brings awesome songs. He always has, I love his name dropping and stuff like that. He did my show. We talked a whole bunch about all sorts of Dylan and stuff like that. And so I thought that was definitely the missing piece of the puzzle. So.
Yeah, he's great. And now we got Damashek coming in to do sports. That's one thing that we want to continue to develop with the show, is having all of our bases covered: pop culture, sports, music, news. We want to make it a true daily show that people want to listen to daily to catch up, and hear Adam's take on all of these various water cooler topics.
It's very important. And I'm actually doing a music minute for a guy out here, Steve Dahl. And on the Kevin Matthews show, it's Steve Dahl, but his is a pay site. Is there any danger of Adam Carolla turning into a pay site? Not that I wouldn't pay and wouldn't be would have no problems in paying, but is there any chance that he might switch the format to a pay site?
None at all. Absolutely none.
Awesome.
No, it's going to continue to be advertiser supported. It won't be. I mean, there may be various things. We're still going to produce albums and stuff like that we want people to buy and help, keep the pirate ship afloat, as he says. But, as far as the daily show, it's going to continue to be, advertiser supported and free. That's part of the mission statement.
That's totally awesome. That's somewhere where, you know, Howard Stern, I love the guy, but I just can't shell out that much. I mean, and then you got people pirating it on the internet, so it's kind of like, you know, cutting out that middleman by just doing it for free, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that paywalls are never good for anybody. I think that those always hurt people. You know, that it hurts the sale and stuff like that.
How about an advertiser that's been with you guys the longest, or the advertiser that you guys feel like you can see the biggest effect with?
Well, biggest effect, I wouldn't even say it's not truly an advertiser, but our Amazon program is really robust. That's a healthy portion of our intake, you know, that Amazon click through, you know, and that's the easiest way for people to support us. So that's what we encourage. But, you know, the Citrix products, the GoToMeeting, Go to My PC, all that stuff, they've been with us for quite a while, almost even. Mangrate is actually the one that's been with us the longest, and they're actually sponsoring Damashek's segment now, so they're going to continue to be part of the show for a while.
Cool. Yeah, I work at a barbecue joint out here in Chicago, and so I contacted Mangrate and just said I was a huge Ace Broadcasting fan, and they were like, sure, you can definitely get your own banner on your site. We'll start selling Mangrates. And I've sold a handful, but it's just really cool people that, you know, everybody enjoys Carolla, so it just seemed like they were totally easy to get for me, at least. So.
Yeah, I mean, all of our sponsors are really great as far as understanding Adam and the brand and how he works, and, you know, having a sense of humor as far as being part of what can be a fairly edgy show. You know,
sure.
I'm glad that we have advertisers who kind of understand that, you know, the give and take of, you have a show that's dropping F-bombs, but you also have a show where there's a very loyal audience who will go out and buy your product if Adam recommends it.
So you've never had like a suit from one of these advertisers come in and say, hey, why don't you guys don't talk about this thing, or why don't you bring this up, or try to get some input into the creative?
We do work with the advertisers on the creative. I mean, we want to make sure that we get their message points across. I mean, they have particular needs, but we also work with them in terms of saying, you know, I'm always part of those calls, and I'm constantly saying, you know, with Adam, less is more. Just give us the 5 most important things he needs to say, and he'll fill in the rest and make it funnier than anything any of us could write. So I think that's one of the major keys. But yeah, of course, with the advertisers, they say, oh, you know, can we make sure we hit this point? You know, of course, that's how it works.
Sure. Like, how about this little like sexism controversy from about 3 weeks ago? I know I saw you guys were trending on Twitter and stuff. Did that ever make any advertisers ever complain about that, or was it just like more eyes on the show, kind of?
I think it was neither here nor there. I mean, we didn't lose any advertisers off that. We didn't even. I never heard anything from any advertisers that they were unhappy with that or anything. The only bummer about that whole thing was we had just come out with the book, and so all of a sudden it came out, and it was a little bit distracting, you know, from what should have been, oh, hey, Adam's got a new book out too, Adam Hates Chicks, or whatever it was.
Sure, yeah. So just bad timing with that, pretty much.
Yeah, but, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you can't really call it. Did it affect Adam? Could you tell it was affecting Adam, or is it just another thing in his day, and he just rolls with it?
Yeah. In fact, there was an interview we did for in some San Antonio paper that I saw this morning, and he said flat out, "I don't give a fuck. You know, I've got my show, and I've got my racing, and so you can say whatever you want. I don't care. I'm going to be at the racetrack."
Busy guy, right? Yeah, he doesn't care. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I recently saw that Superfan Giovanni had to fill in for you when you had the birth of your kid in Chicago at the Park West. How was that? Was that something that you planned for? Obviously, you were planning for it, but how come he had to, do the PowerPoint? Or
it was just bad timing. The kid came a couple days late, and it ended up being a cesarean, so it took longer as far as the recovery. So, I just couldn't make a flight to Chicago, so I just had to miss that run. So, Mike August filled in, and then Giovanni jumped in Chicago to help him out. So.
Very cool. Is that something that you like doing, the live shows, or is that really hectic and like full of pressure?
No, I love doing the live shows. When I first started, it was a little nervous making, but now that once you get a couple of reps, it's not that hard, and you work out the material with Adam, and I have good times, and so I know what he's calling for before he calls for it. So as far as anybody's concerned watching, it seems like it's pretty seamless, I hope, at least. And it's very nice to go out and meet the fans afterwards, because you get a little isolated in just producing the in-studio shows.
Sure.
So when you go out on the road and you meet the fans and you see how much they really love it, and how dedicated they are, and how much they support us, it feels good. And it's good to talk to people, get a little feedback about what bits they like, what they don't like, which guests they really love, things like that. So.
Yeah, it seems like he's tireless when dealing with the fans. He will sign every autograph in the line. No matter if there's another show coming on next, he'll just make sure he gets through the line, and he's, it's pretty easy to talk to. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he has a lot of gratitude, for the fans and the support that they give him. So yeah, he signs every autograph. I mean, when we did the Moore Theater in Seattle, there was a good 400 people waiting. And he did every one of them. So.
Yeah, the live show's got to be a little bit like being in a band. Like you can tell what he wants out of you, and you can be right there when he needs you, stuff like that. I thought we could talk a little bit about music, and I've recently heard that you're a big Phish fan. How long you been listening to the guys from Vermont?
Oh, my first show, 96.
Whoa,
Clifford
nice.
Ball was their first festival show.
Huh.
And the last show I actually saw with Adam at the Hollywood Bowl. I brought him to I broke his Phish cherry, and that was last summer. So that was my 41st or 42nd show, I believe.
Whoa!
So
that is awesome. That's hardcore. I mean, like what's big now is these guys, Dead Mouse and all this, they push a button and then the people just think they're God. But when you see a band like them, it's four guys playing real instruments, feeding off the energy of each other. There's nothing that could compare to that, to me at least.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny, it's actually a good transition, our conversation here, because we started talking about the live shows, and I see Adam as kind of the Phish of comedy. I mean, and I want to blow hard here, but that's one of the things I realize the reason I like both that band and this guy is because, intensely loyal following, but not necessarily mainstream. Different sets every night, everything's slightly different. It may be, it's the Dixie Chick story that he's told, but he tells it a slightly different way every time. And it'll be funny because I'll be sitting there during the live shows, and I'll be sitting next to the soundboard guys and the lighting guys from these venues, and I'm cracking up, and they're looking at me like, "Why are you laughing? You should know all this material." It's like, no, I've never heard him say that before.
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, I've heard this story before. I've heard this bit about hotel shower knobs before, but he's never said that particular joke about it before.
Like you've heard Character Zero before, but you haven't heard it quite the way they did it that night.
That's exactly right. It's kind of it's like the Great Dead. Like they'd always do. They'll do Scarlet Piccolo and Music Fire on the Mountain, but is it 20 minutes or is it 15 minutes? And does it have a drum solo or not?
Yeah.
And Adam's the same way. It's heavy on the improv. So yeah,
parallel, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean I've probably beaten that analogy into the ground, but I do see it that way. And so yeah, I mean that's one of the things I dig about Phish and the Dead and Zappa and guys like that. I love stamina and improvisation and humor, and I think all those bands have that.
Sure, and it's also hard to convert people to Carolla, as it is hard to convert people to Phish. There's this show on the Earwolf broadcasting, whatever, Earwolf. It's called Analyze Phish. Did you ever hear about that one?
It's Harris Whittles, right?
Harris Whittles, yeah. What did he do? He did that.
Ackerman, yeah.
Yeah, Ackerman and Harris Whittles, and like he's just trying to get Ackerman into Phish, and then at the end of the series, then he gets to go see a Phish show and see if it really changes his mind. I think that was a good idea.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you got to get people out there to see them live. You're never going to convert anybody with the albums. And one thing I've learned with that, I had my fairly evangelical phase with Phish when I was in college in 2000 whatever. And actually I graduated in 2000, so like late 90s. You're either going to get them or you're not, and you don't need to be a dick about it. Just let people give it a shot. If they don't like it, whatever. Because truth is, I don't. You can't see me right now, but I don't have dreadlocks. I don't smoke weed. I don't spin around in circles at these shows. I just go and enjoy the music.
Sure.
I have a couple of beers at these shows. I don't even, So I'm not your stereotypical burnout Phish head either.
Sure.
And there's a lot of things about those shows that I don't dig, but there's a lot of stuff I do.
Yeah, if you just go by the music itself, it's just they're unmatched. I mean, with like the virtuoso-ness about them, and all four original members since '83, I believe. Yeah, they're not known for their studio albums, but I've got a couple that I really like. What's your favorite Phish studio album?
Oh, definitely Rift. Far and away Rift.
Really?
Yeah, that was the first one for me. So everybody always, their first love is always the one they remember. But just Maze is awesome. I love the Way. That was kind of my entry into Phish because, like I said, I always had a kind of a comedy thing happening. I was,
Sure.
And that's kind of a silly, whimsical song. So that was the first one I ever actually heard. Yeah, I love that album. It's almost a concept album. Get Iced is a fantastic song.
Yeah,
but
they said it was a
one,
concept album about sleep or something, about dreams and sleeping, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, but their latest one I think is probably the best one of the past couple. Joy is I think Joy is better than Round Room or maybe even Farmhouse.
Sure, definitely better than Undermined. I didn't really care for that one as much as the other ones.
Yeah, there's a couple of tracks on Undermined I liked, but yeah, for the most part, Round Room was the one that didn't get me, except Walls of the Cave. I really enjoy Walls of the Cave.
Sure, and for Joy, they got back together with Steve Lillywhite, who did Billy Breeze and like a whole bunch of like Peter Gabriel stuff. So it's good to have a good producer behind the boards,
Yeah. Well, it's just the songwriting was fresh. They had taken some time off. It's interesting. I was at their first festival, which was my first show, which was Clever Ball, and then I hit the Coventry, which was supposedly their last show in 2004. And so I have all of my ticket stubs from those shows and everything in between framed,
really?
custom framed, because I thought they were broken up. I thought it was the end, and then they got back together. So, then the first show I hit after they got back together was the Halloween Festival 8 show out here where they did the Rolling Stones, which was
nice.
Maybe one of my favorite shows I've ever been to, even though it felt different, but I was a little bit older. I brought my wife with me. I had friends there who had kids with them, and it was a completely different vibe. But it was a really cool show, and I'm a sucker for a cover, and so to hear them do all of Exile on Main Street is
Exile they did, huh? Nice.
Yeah, so, you can't beat that.
Yeah, I always hate it when people complain about bands reforming after they've broken up. I mean, if everybody's still alive, they're all in a good mind frame, why not go back one more time on the road or do another album? I mean, I'm sure people would want to go see like Nirvana if they were still around or if everybody was still alive. I mean, I think that's just a thing of human nature that if everybody's still alive, why not go at it one more time?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends whether they're still good or not. And, fortunately, those guys are still good. But, I mean, there's some bands that, good riddance. They lost it, and they're never going to get it back. So.
And then you have like the Smashing Pumpkins with Billy Corgan, the only surviving member that's still playing, but he's still going as the Pumpkins and still like that. That's another weird gray area there.
Yeah, there's always a math on how many members need to depart before it's still well, and it can still be called like the Who. I saw the Who, and it wasn't. It's still the Who, but it's Roger Daltrey and
just the two guys.
Townsend.
Yeah,
just the two guys left. It's like, well, it was the Grateful Dead until Jerry died, and then it was just the Dead, or.
That's something good that the Dead did. They didn't try to go on as the Grateful Dead without Jerry. Yeah. They had that dignity with them. So, did you ever get to see Grateful Dead when they were still touring in the 90s? Or?
No, I got on board that too late, unfortunately.
Sure.
Yeah, 'cause that was what, 94 he died. So,
95, yeah.
95, yeah. So I got into that too late, unfortunately.
So what's like new, like what's like the next thing on the horizon as far as Ace Broadcasting? I saw you guys are now charging for the archives. That's pretty awesome. Yeah,
well, we're sitting on all this material and we weren't doing anything with it, and so we figured let people have it, and pay us a nominal whatever for our the bandwidth costs and what it costs to maintain that archive and everything like that. Give people unlimited access, and they can dig back into the oldies but goodies.
I had somebody ask me the other day, the Ustream show, is that ever going to come back?
There's discussions. I wouldn't say I couldn't give you a date on it, but we have cameras in the new studio, and so we're going to try to use them. What form it's going to take, I don't know, but. It won't be a subscription thing, because that part of it didn't really work for us. We didn't, it wasn't worth the cutoff. Like we were talking about paywalls earlier. That was something we noticed with the Ustream shows. Like, there were some hardcore dedicated people who would tune in every night and paid their subscription fee, but the numbers weren't nearly as high as they should have been for a show as popular as it is. So,
sure.
If we go back to a streaming situation, it'll be a little more casual, and it'll be, it won't be a subscription thing.
Sure, you live, you learn. How about like any new shows in the works or anything else how about, is Larry Miller coming back? I've been really hoping to hear him back on the air,
Yeah, he will be. He's just taking his time getting his recovery together. A couple of the guys, Jeff and Chris, have gone to visit him. Adam went to visit him, and he's fine. It's just, when you have a head injury, you don't play games with that. So,
sure.
He's taking his time and making sure he's completely up to speed before he jumps back into it. But yeah, we've all talked to him, and he's fine. He's the same old Larry that everybody knew. So.
Still the same old witty guy. Awesome to hear. The book is not Taco Bell material. Get it at all fine booksellers. Adam Carolla with Mike Lynch. You can hear the podcast daily at adamcarolla.com. You can follow Mike Lynch on Twitter at mlynchtweets, right?
Yes.
Anything else you want to mention, Mike, before we call it a day?
Let's mention the audiobook, too, because
sure.
As Adam has said, it's different enough from the book that might be worth getting both.
A full 8 hours, right?
7:59. Let's be clear.
Awesome. You can get that on iTunes and support the pirate ship. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for taking the time out, Mike. Everybody's so nice over at Ace Broadcasting. Love talking to you. So on behalf of Mike Lynch, this is Andy Dare signing out for the Andy Dare Show.
Be sure to follow Andy on Twitter. That's at Andy Derer, ANDYDERER. And like our show on Facebook. That's facebook.com/The Andy Derer Show. Videos at youtube.com/Andrew Martin Dare. And it all leads back to theandydare.show.com. Support our show by supporting our sponsors. Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue, The Man Grate, and Secondhand Mall. Thank you so much for listening.